Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our On Point podcast. I am Mark McKee, head of Viewpoint School, and today we are going behind the curtain with the chair of our film department and with one of our film teachers. We are going to spotlight the unparalleled film program at Viewpoint and talk about how these courses nurture our students' creativity and help prepare them for a changing world. Our film program truly fulfills our world-ready promise. I am here with Catherine Dunn, chair of our film department, and film teacher Monica Hoenig, who recently wrapped the school year with our annual Film IV Symposium, which we'll learn about during this episode. So let's start with the big picture of film at Viewpoint and the path that students choose to take starting in our middle school in 7th grade. Catherine, can you give us a glimpse into our film curriculum, bringing to life the depth and breadth of offerings in our middle and upper school?
Absolutely. Film students can start their journey in 7th grade. They have a panoply of electives that they can choose from. It's music video, it's stop motion animation, it's media production, it's screenwriting. I mean, they could spend their 2 years, 7th and 8th grade, doing nothing but film electives. So that's really exciting for us. They get a taste of how wonderful the film department is and sort of where they can find their voice as an artist. And then they can jump into 9th grade. 9th grade starts our narrative track here at Viewpoint. They can run through Film 1, 2, 3, and 4 and end up in the Honors Film 4 program where they get to produce a 10 to 15 minute short, and Monica can talk more about that. We also have a lot of other classes that they can take. In 11th grade, they can opt to take documentary, which is sort of, growing by leaps and bounds. There's also a sports media class they can take. There's screenwriting and there's acting for directing. That is it's taught co-curricularly with the theater department. And beyond that, if they are so inclined, they can ask one of the film teachers to mentor them for their senior projects. And we have several students that do that every year, and they are exploring something that's extremely interesting to them and passionate to them.
Wow. What would you add, Monica?
I think that our film department is truly unique in independent or high schools because did I say independent high schools?
Yeah.
Because first of all, the breadth of it, as Catherine mentioned, the 6 years of truly project-based, student-generated, student-executed film projects is very different. It's very difficult to have a program like that. And so the breadth of it is huge. It gives them an opportunity for technical expertise and really polished film projects, especially towards Film 3s and Film 4s, the juniors and the seniors. But also, it gives them 6 years or 4 years of opportunities to create something really unique and ambitious and something that they really want to say to the world. These projects that are just phenomenal as they get bigger and older and older. Also, I think that because it's so project-based, by the time they get to the junior and the senior levels, they have so much basic knowledge of storytelling and technical skills that when I start teaching them in Film 3 and Film 4, I can concentrate on real-life productions. I can concentrate teaching them on set procedures and protocols and set etiquette that are internationally the same everywhere. So if they go through the program of 6 years of this program and then they graduate, they can get a job on any film production anywhere in the world. They will understand what's happening and how they do it and why they do certain things.
As a Viewpoint graduate.
As a Viewpoint graduate. They don't necessarily have to go to film school. Some of them will choose it, some of them won't, most of them won't. But if they want to do and get into the industry, they can do it.
That's amazing. And we'll talk about our alumni in a moment because we have some exceptional alumni in our program, both fresh out of the school and many years out of the school. So in 7th and 8th grade, we have an elective program. That sounds pretty typical for a school. Our 4-year sequence in upper school, which if you opt into it in 9th grade, you can access all 4 years of it. It's 4 years of full courses, right? Mm-hmm. That almost sounds like a major. Like that's a program. And it sounds really distinctive. What do students get out of that 4-year sequence through the upper school years?
Well, as I said, I think unique opportunities for them to work on a project from ideation through completion.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, it's film, and it's very collaborative. So they learn to work with their peers. They are not alone trying to figure out some sort of film idea that they have. Everybody's helping them to put together a great little product with an incredible crew that gets bigger and bigger. So in the 9th grade, they may be a crew of 3, and then 10th grade, a group of 4 or 5, 11th grade nights, 6 people, 7 people, and then the seniors are 12, 10 to 12, sometimes 25.
And the Film 4s, I mean, each of those sections is like a little production company, right?
Absolutely.
That is the way that course is organized. It's interesting, if you zoom out and think about the genesis of this program, I know I started as an English teacher. Catherine, I think you started as an English teacher.
I did.
And what I remember from video and education over 25 years ago, in the early days when digital video tools and when the editing tools became more accessible to students using, then computers in labs, right? Using Adobe or Final Cut Pro or what have you. One of the things I remember most is that video is a language that everyone reads, but very few people know how to write. That it's something that, obviously since the era of television, people have been consuming video as consumers, but less so as creators. Now that there are creation tools on everyone's iPhone, that has changed somewhat. But tell me about how our program has evolved over that same span of time.
Well, technically, our program has evolved because when I first got here 30 years ago, we were filming on an Arriflex 16 millimeter camera.
Okay.
We had
that sounds like film.
It was film, yes. And we had a huge stem deck in our room that was broken most of the time, and sometimes
What is that?
It's an editing platform.
Okay.
And you have
It's as big as half of this table.
Is that called an editing table?
Yes, but there are different platforms that you can use. But ours had it had 2 tracks of audio and 1 track of video, and it would get stuck and it would break down, and you'd be in another room, another part of the classroom, and it would just start speaking independently. We have no idea why.
State of the art.
The kids thought it was haunted. It sort of had a whole mythology connected to it. And then, of course, I saw the entire evolution from, we were editing on those really, beginning Apple computers. Mm-hmm. We actually would film in 16 millimeter and then shoot the film on the screen and then take it into the Apple computers to edit it digitally. Now, of course, you have an entire, studio on your iPhone, right? Mm-hmm. So it's incredibly different. But I would argue that no matter how the technology changes, the basis of all filmmaking is storytelling. Mm-hmm. And it's what I love about the program. I think the film department's philosophy is for the students to find their voices as artists. And while that philosophy is very simple, I mean, the journey can be very hard. It can be, multi-layered and complex, and often you're taking, 2 steps backwards while you take 1 step forward. But in the end, what we're really hoping for is that the students will tap into their passions, and they will find stories that are significant and meaningful to them. And then when they tell these stories, they are able to shape the world around them. So I feel like everything's, to answer your question, I feel like everything has evolved, mm-hmm. and then almost nothing has evolved because mm-hmm. we're still at our heart telling stories. And that's what I love so much about our department. And whether it's the unbelievable stories that Film 4 tells, or the stories, the personal journeys and stories that are told in documentary, or even, the sort of, casual music videos that the students make in the middle school, these are all stories that the students feel passionate about. And I'm so proud of that in our program.
Well, even from the beginnings of the program, you are teaching them that film is about storytelling.
I hope so. You know, I mean, there are days we do it better than other days, but yes. But, you know, I mean, I just love stories. I love everything about them. I love the way that they're structured. I love the way that they're organized. I love how you can take something formulaic and turn it into a very different story with little tweaks and twists and putting your own stamp on things. I mean, I feel like that's where the students really find their agency in the class, and whether they're doing it on a 16 millimeter camera or they're doing it on a Blackmagic, it almost doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I will argue that everything we do is a story. Like pretty much, like let's say this podcast series that you're doing, it's stories about us. And it's marketing is stories, and advertising is stories. Little TikTok videos are stories. So you have to learn it, but it's very, very difficult to actually create a story. It has structure. They have to learn that certain things will work and will communicate their stories better than others. And why do you gravitate to one film versus another? Why do you like one film and you don't like the other one? And most of the time when we have these conversations in the classes, it's the story that I don't like in this one. That's not a good story. Why is it not a good story? They didn't hit plot points. There is no reversal of expectations, whatever it may be. This movie is better because the story structure is better, but that's a learned skill. It takes years for a screenwriter, like decades.
We're talking about going behind the curtain of our film program, and you're taking us behind the curtain of our films and what makes them work. No, that seems that seems on point, actually.
But I would also argue Monica is right that you have to learn how to tell a story. But I think everybody's a natural storyteller.
It's a human activity.
It's a human activity. And so to tap into that, I think, is really beneficial for the students. I mean, to get back to the mission statement, I feel like if you can allow the students to embrace their own storytelling, then you really have successful,
Yeah, our mission of future readiness, I mean, certainly, we're all thinking about AI in education. We can talk about AI in film in a moment, but we're all thinking about AI in education, and it certainly strikes me that one of the most future-ready things that we can be doing as educators is, in fact, highlighting students' humanity, their human skills, and storytelling is an essential human skill. As much as you're teaching them technique and technology, it's really a human skill. What got you each into teaching film, Catherine?
Well, as you mentioned, I was an English teacher as well, and I think that they both center around stories, right? I mean, obviously there's grammar and vocabulary in both disciplines, right? But
films have a grammar.
Films have a grammar, absolutely, and vocabulary. But I just love getting to the heart of a story. I love discussing themes. I love discussing structure. I love discussing why things work. And I love the idea that when you're telling a story, you're personally figuring out how life works around you. Now, not everybody may agree with that, but you're figuring out how you think life works. And I just love being a part of that. Because you can't really teach it. You can teach how to sort of embrace it, but you can't really teach what the student is thinking. And so it's sort of so exciting to see how they take these little gems that you may throw out and grow them into these huge, wonderful, jewels, if I'm going to continue with that metaphor, which is not very good. But, the other reason I really love teaching film is the project-based part of it. I mean, there is nothing better than sitting in a darkened classroom and watching the student watch his or her or their film on the screen. Just the sort of the joy and the excitement in their eyes is just so rewarding when you have, helped them or mentored them to the point where they are looking at their own ideas and their own hard work coming alive on the screen. And I really, really love that as a teacher.
Monica, what got you into it?
So I have two pragmatic answers for you. What got into me as a teacher? First of all, my high school film production classes, which I'm from Hungary. I went to high school in Hungary, small town. We had film production classes.
Wow.
On
That's
film.
great.
I thought it was the norm. It isn't. It still to this day is not the norm, but I thought it was. So when I came to the United States and it was time to go to college, after I learned English somewhat, they asked me what I wanted to study. I said, of course I said film, because it was amazing. My teachers inspired me in that high school so much. Look what I'm doing. I'm doing their job.
Yes.
So I went to two film schools. I went to UT Austin for undergrad and NYU for graduate school. And in between and before and after, I did all the practical work that I wanted to be writing and directing, but I did the technical work, assistant camera and lighting and sound and editing. Then I had a production company where I was producing, so I learned project management, which I teach every single day.
Yes.
And while I'm doing this, years and years and years into it, I'm also teaching summer film camps to high school kids. And then I realized, as I was going through several years of my professional life, producing independent films, that my happiest moments were those summer camps with the kids. And they provided me with joy and happiness and creative choices that I don't really get to do as an industry professional. You really kind of don't. But the kids let me enjoy my creativity with them. So then I started looking for a job in teaching. And Viewpoint is my first teaching job. And I've been here for 13 years. I haven't left. I haven't changed. I haven't looked at the industry since. I understand what it is. I like it. I have friends. I can go. But I don't want to. I love this, teaching the high school kids.
Thank goodness.
Thank you.
That means between the two of you have over 4 decades here at Viewpoint.
Yes, I know.
Right.
It's crazy. Well, this is my only teaching job, too. I've never taught anywhere else either.
You know, we're a best place to work. Why
We
would
are.
anyone ever want to leave, right? There are 3 full-time film teachers in our department.
Yes,
the
there are.
department you lead. We had a new teacher, Claire Maskey, join us this year. But it's really remarkable to think about that career here, and your department is a little bit like a studio, and so you get the creative role of executive producing all of the student work. Just to give our listeners a sense of what students accomplish, you talked a little bit about middle school projects, and stories. What's an example of a story a student might tell in like a 9th grade class, and then a story that a student might tell in Film IV Honors in their senior year?
Well, I'll answer the 9th grade classes. That's what I teach. So in 9th grade, we do 2 things. We do a narrative storytelling, and then we do a poemography, which is basically a project that I came up with, is where the students take a poem, either they've written it or something that means something to them, and they have to create a sound line for it. And then once they create the sound line, which can have multiple narrations. This year we included AI narration for the first time to great success. I was really, really happy with the way that turned out. And once they do that, they have to illustrate the sound line thematically. They can't do it literally, they have to do it figuratively. And so that's a project that they do where they really have to dig down deep into the way that they see the world and how they want this poem to reflect their passions for the world or how they want to change the world. So you can take just a normal poem and then just illustrate it in a way that would be personal to them. So that's one of the projects they do in 9th grade. They also do a lot of different narrative pieces, and those narrative pieces are really trying to figure out what sort of genre they would like to, concentrate on, or that. We do one where the students have to do a reversal of expectations, which is where they set up an expectation and then they reverse it. And so that is one where they really try to figure out the sort of the touchstones for the story and what will make a story work and what will not make a story work, or what will cause a story not to work. So, we do, in 9th grade, they have shorter projects, so they get to touch as many different, places in the filmmaking. And then as they go on into Film 2 and Film 3 and Film 4, the projects get longer and more complicated. More
collaborative, it sounds like.
More collaborative. They are collaborative from day one. Even in the middle school, they are collaborative. We really want to teach the fact that this is a collaborative medium. And I think that in Film 1, they are learning how to collaborate. And I think that is an incredible skill that you have to practice over and over and over again. And, when you don't collaborate as perfectly as you can, to really sit down and analyze how that could have gone better. And so hopefully by the time that we, push them up into Film 4, they have a pretty good idea of, one, how to collaborate and how to really make other people's projects as important as their own, and to really sort of say that, that I succeed when everybody else succeeds. And I think that is where we try to force them. No, I'm sorry, where we try to encourage them.
That notion of I succeed when I am contributing to other people's projects, and when other people succeed, I succeed, and vice versa, that resonates for me with our broader school culture and what seniors often tell me is true. It's interesting to think about the role that this film program, which probably touches 10 to 20% of our students, maybe more.
I think it's more, but yes.
Yeah, yeah, but it doesn't touch 100% of our students.
No.
But there's a way in which it might have an influence on the entire school culture. What's a story that we might see, or what's an example of storytelling in Film 4 Honors?
Film 4 Honors.
Yeah.
So by the time they got to Film 4 Honors,
Yeah.
they have had an incredible amount of basic skills, storytelling, technical. Then they actually have the opportunity in juniors level films to make their passion project. I actually have a project that's called the Passion Project.
And so that would be Film 3, like each is a full year?
It's actually half a year, so
Yeah.
it's semester. First semester, second semester project is the Passion Project. When they've been dying to tell whatever story without restrictions from adults, just I want to tell this story, so they do that now with my guidance, and it has to be viewpoint appropriate. And doing that...
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
And many of those projects that Monica mentors go on to the Young Arts Awards and win. So it's an incredible
Already
project.
the junior films.
Yeah,
already the junior
11th
films
grade
had
films.
gone.
The
Yeah.
Leather Gold Films,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
They've been fantastic.
Thank you.
I am thinking about them. I have seen them in our film
Yep.
festivals and our film assembly. So
Yes, yes. Already then they are developing skills in specific crew positions, because now I'm trying to teach them, as I said, the real world project according to set procedures and protocols. So now they have to pick a crew position, let's say a lighting or a camera operator, and practice that on other people's projects. Once they practice it, because they can choose it, and they can choose 2 or 3 of them if they want to. Once they practice it on other people's projects in their junior year, we go into the senior year. And that's the crew position that they will pick to do for the Film 4s. So the Film 4, should I tell you how the Film 4 works?
Yeah, so this
Okay.
year we had 2 sections of Film 4. And
So this is how the Film 4s work. It's one class makes 1 film per year. And from really the ideation, going through development, script writing, the setting up the shots, the shooting of it, then the editing, and then we show it at the symposium, at the CFT. So that's one big crew. That's normally maybe 8 to 12 kids that make one script, that they work on one film that comes from one writer, one director, but they all take ownership of it. It's just because I'm working on their work on the lighting, it doesn't mean that I'm just working on the lighting. It means that's my film. I am working on the lighting of my film, or I'm working on the camera of my film, or I'm the editor of my film, or I'm the prop master of my film. And it's really remarkable to see them how they really take ownership of it, and they root for each other, and they form a very, very strong bond for 9 months, nearly every day. It's not just in the classes, but it's at home. They do FaceTime videos with each other, and they practice and rehearse.
a writer has pitched script ideas.
So if we have more than one writer director wannabes, which we do a lot of times, they have to pitch the product. They have to have a pitch deck to the class, and then we read the scripts. Maybe we have 4 scripts going on, and then we pick the one that we like. And remarkably, they don't pick the one that like my friend's script, they pick the one that's the best script, that's at the moment of completion of like, this can be a really, really great product. And they understand, the other 3 will understand why the script wasn't picked. That's remarkable soft skills, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, the notion of how to be a part of a team, how to take part in a company, and how to create a result where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts is that's remarkable. What are some of the highlights of recent Film IVs? Like, what's an example of a story we might see?
Well, we had 2 Film IVs this year. We showed them at the symposium, How It Should Be and The Backseat. They are vastly different. Ideas, themes, how they are shot, what kind of design, music design or sound design we have for it. It depends on the writer, director, and the team that they are cohesively creating around themselves. So this year, Backseat was about, you both saw it, so you can add your 2 cents to it. To me, it was a coming of age, anxiety about getting into the real world, going into college, fear of failure, put into a little bit of a experimental sci-fi idea of splitting yourself, and there is an alter ego who is so much better than you are. So that's Backseat. And it's just, I know that the students who worked on this film felt that in their senior year of there's so much happening in the senior year going into college, that was their life. Put into really creative, with a twist to it. And then the other one...
It was a thriller.
It was a thriller.
It was a thriller, and you're right. It had a teenage protagonist.
It did.
And of course, in Film IV, they're casting professionals. Right?
That's their job. They had to cast professionals, and it's on them to find the actors. They found remarkable actors, by the way. This year normally we do find very good actors. Spot on. And then the other one is How It Should Be. Is again sci-fi, but it's like a 1950s young girl trying to go to college that looks like in the 1950s, like instructional videos. It's black and white. There is a speaker. Should I tell you? The speaker is not actually a speaker. Like the voiceover is not actually a voiceover. It's his own character. She needs to get away from him. It's issues that the writer-director was concerned with. Again, it's going into college. The main character is trying to go into college, and she's not allowed. And so she's concerned with this in her real life, in what she sees in the world, and she wants to communicate that to the audience. And it was sort of funny and quirky and weird and strange, and it's already had been accepted to 2 film festivals. I immediately started submitting them to film festivals after the symposium. Backseat is going into a couple of them, and I can't wait to see where they are technically so polished, so that it's really, really remarkably well-made films. Also, storytelling. I think that they did a really good job.
They did a really good job. I mean, Monica really mentors them to, I think there was, 50 versions of some of the scripts? I mean...
50 drafts.
50 drafts. I mean, I'm very fortunate to read early drafts and, give our 2 cents. She also asks some of the film classes. So my film ones read some of the early drafts and gave their 2 cents. And so, I feel like it just is the way that storytelling is done, right? Sort of, many iterations, but also the idea of bringing the viewpoint community together to feel like, okay, I mean, I had a lot of Film 1 students who went to the symposium this year because they wanted to see how it turned out. And so they were invested from, I think you gave it to us in November. So they were invested in November, to see it in June.
And then they came.
If your department functions a little bit like a studio, you're really building a community of film here at the school, from the middle school on up, and those upper school students all feel like they're part of something.
Absolutely, and I want to say one more great thing about Film IV is that Monica really encourages other students that may not be in the film class to come in and have a part. Obviously, it's not they can't direct, but we had
a technically sophisticated sound designer who has not been a film student,
who
right?
also lit the film. So he was the lighting technician as well on both of them. He never took a film class in his life. He was a
But
senior.
he's had these technical theater skills that he
had the
ported
technical
over to our
theater
film
skills.
department,
And
and
I-
you made room for that.
Well, and it was to the film's benefits. I mean, both of them
Yeah.
are beautiful. But I was on set. I watched him participate with the film crew, and he fit in seamlessly. That's a
Yeah.
testimony to the way that Monica runs the program. And he was allowed to, he raised himself and the film simultaneously in this very sort of community-oriented set. So it's great.
And there were film ones and film twos that come, and film
Yeah.
threes. It's they all look up to the film fours as inspiration. But that's what they want to do. They love, and then they take on it. They sit in the audience watching the film. They take ownership of it. But I worked on it.
I was impressed this year. I've been impressed so many years with our Film IV Symposium. Now, I'm guessing our listeners, if they haven't ever seen a Viewpoint film, student film, there may be a Vimeo channel or
Yes.
a website that we can direct them to. But the Film IV Honors Symposium, of course, in June, which now landed the night before our Arts Fest, is really great.
Yeah.
And then you can see films at the Arts Fest as well. When we get to see each of the film companies present their film, premiere their film, and then have a talk back with the audience afterwards. It's always such a remarkable experience that you can only get by coming. The films you were describing, they're really sophisticated work.
Yes.
They're very complex and nuanced, and even some of the film threes you're talking about, these passion projects, and they've gone on to some notoriety, right? Tell us about some of the success that students have been recognized in other circles because of their work here at Viewpoint.
Well, we always submit to Young Arts every year. We started that in 2003 with Kenny Roy, who was an alum who became a presidential scholar with his film, I think it was called Little Visitor, animation live action mix. And every year we do really well with the Young Arts. We've done well in screenwriting, we've done well in film production, we've even done well in photography, which obviously is not part of the film department, but I think all of the arts here at Viewpoint are unbelievable.
Young Arts is a national program,
Young Arts
and it
is,
recognizes a handful of students.
yes, it's more than just a film program, but it recognizes all the arts, and what they do is you submit obviously whatever your film is or your screenplay, and they read it. It's blind. They Judy it blind, right? And
They don't know the student, the school.
they don't know anything, and
Yep.
and then they just based on how good it is. But what I like so much about Young Arts, it's not about the film or the project they've just made. It's really about what they're going to do next. Because what they do is they invite them to various workshops, depending on the levels that you are awarded. And in those workshops, you meet with your peers, you meet with professionals, you meet with all sorts of other people who are basically there just to allow you to sort of embrace your own art, or your own artist voice. And I really love that about the Young Arts program. And I think, in a way, that's what we tried to model this film symposium after, that it's not about awards or festival-oriented things. It's really about hearing the students' voices. So I feel like we are hearing, we're hearing their experience on the film set. So I really like that about the symposium, and that's one of the reasons that Viewpoint does a symposium rather than running a festival. Having said that, and I'll let Monica talk about it, we do unbelievably well in the premier festivals around internationally and nationally. So I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, you've answered my question before Monica talks about festivals, which is I've noted that we've had students among the top 10 or so filmmakers in the country year after year after year in screenwriting or in film production. And that's distinctive. And the question would be, what's the reason for that? And I think you've really just sort of answered what sets our students apart, or what sets their work apart. Would you say it's their storytelling?
Well, yes. I think it's everything that we've been talking about in this podcast, that we start from 7th grade and that we build in a systematic and very project-based way We give them, all 3 film teachers give them unbelievable feedback. I mean, it's individual feedback on every single film, not only every film, but every part of the film, the pitch, the actual production, the first cut, the second cut, the final cut. I mean, we're working with them. Sorry, I'm getting strident. We're working with them, every step of the way. And so I feel like once they get to a point where they can sort of take all those skills that we've helped them with and pull it into a film, that's why they experience so much success. But I also feel, once again, that it's really what the film department does so unbelievably well is to really encourage student voice and choice. And that they are all making films that are important to them. That there's, even in the music video or even the, Film 1, they understand that they're going to be living with this project for weeks, maybe months, right? So they have to start off with something that they feel passionate about. And that's something that they understand. And so by the end of that experience, they really have embraced the growth that they inevitably go on by making a film.
There is a synergy there, and when you talk about student voice, that it's a creative discipline, and so it is both creative and it's disciplined.
Yes.
And I can hear both of those things in what you're saying. That student voice can't get as far if it's not given some skills
and some structure.
Some structure. Yeah.
May I add to this a little bit of, when we talked about why I became a film teacher, is because when I was a film professional, there was always somebody who made those creative decisions for me. I had to very well, and I had to do it. Now, our students, sort of in the situation that we are the bosses, we are telling them in a way of what they should be doing, but we are doing it in a way of, we understand, or let's say for me in Film 3 and Film 4, I see what they want to do. There's a lot of conversations with them of how they want to do it, and then I engage with this conversation with them and I help them do it that way. I don't want them to do it my way. I give them so much agency, so much choice, and I tell them these are the consequences of the choices. You make the choice. This is your decision. This is your film. This is not a Monica Hoenig film. I just tell you my experience of this is what's going to happen, and do you like? This is what you want. And then if they say yes, I let them run with it.
The vision of that film is the student's vision.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I tell them that, when they come up for their first cut, individual meeting with me, I'll say, okay, so this is the issue that I see, and here is the solution. And I say, at the moment you hear that solution, it can go many ways. It can go, oh my God, that's right. That's exactly what I want to do. Or, no, that is ridiculous. This is, you have no idea what I was trying to say. Or you could say, yeah, Ms. Dunn, you're kind of right, but here's an alternate solution, right? So I try to teach that process to them so they can really, sort of dive deeply into the creative process of revision, which I think is something that we haven't really talked about, which is so important to filmmaking. But it's really about teaching them how to react to criticism as well, right? Not criticism, critique.
Note-taking.
And all that.
Note-giving.
Yeah.
Learning how to give and take a note is very important.
It's very important.
We've been talking a lot about soft skills all the way, and I think about when in life one learns to manage up. In a way, you're describing students who are learning to collaborate with their supervisors, collaborate with their teachers. They're collaborating with you when you give them notes.
That's right.
And that's to give students that skill of how do I manage up. They will ultimately move out into a world where...
But they will be giving notes. They will be getting them.
They will be getting notes in life.
And I also tell them that if you come back and decide that you don't want to make a change, you have to give me 2 reasons why. And, and oftentimes...
Not just one.
Not just one, but you need to do 2. And oftentimes they come back...
Reason 1, I don't want to.
I don't like it.
That's always like the undercurrent, I know.
Okay, that's reason 3.
That's reason 3, or that's
2 good reasons.
0.5. But anyway, I think that's also a really good soft skill, is to explain that, I'm going to stand firm on this, and here's why. And and often when I hear the reasons, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And so that's the end of the discussion, and they walk away feeling that they have that agency, right? And that they've actually learned how to negotiate, an interview or a meeting with somebody who theoretically has, their fate in their hands.
Oh, it could be anyone, a professor, a hiring manager, anyone. I want to get to talk about festivals,
yes,
but what were you going to say?
Which actually
yes.
kind of corresponds to this, because we do send these films, mainly the Film IVs and the Film IVs, although younger films can go to film festivals too, but for several reasons. And one of them is that the most important reason is, maybe we can argue about that, is that that's where they meet industry professionals who watch their films, and most likely at that festival, if they attended, then they're gonna get notes from them. They are going
at the festival. Yeah.
They are going to be hearing feedback from the audience, who are most likely industry professionals, because the short films, they really only have two avenues of exhibitions. It's online streaming or film festivals. There's no other way audiences will see it. Online streaming is difficult. YouTube, Vimeo, because we can't manage it, we can't control it, we don't know who watches it, there's no feedback. But the film festivals, especially if they are so giving, the audience is so incredibly giving, and that's where you will meet your future collaborators, that's where you meet your professors might be there, your person who will hire you next year, or the producer that liked your film and now they want you to make a little script for them or something. And so it's very important that they learn those skills in the classes of listening to those people, taking the notes, understanding why they are saying certain things, not getting personally offended, and just networking, just really communicating with the filmmaking community, because that is the industry that most likely they want to go into. And that's where they meet.
How have students done at festivals? What have been the outcomes?
Remarkably well. I think that, for example, hardcore had gotten into something like 27 film festivals.
That was a recent Film IV?
It was a recent Film IV.
Maybe 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago. They got a remarkable amount of awards as well, for best directing for Maddie Case, and then for just ensemble and crew and acting awards. I think this last year was To the Max, Sandiata Enuka's film that had already gone to something close to 20 festivals. She had also received awards. One of the most two important festival situations is, one of them is the All-American High School Film Festival, which is
in New York?
Yes.
It's in New York, and that's important because it's the biggest film festival in the world for high school films, specifically for high school. They submit 7,000 to 8,000 films per year, short films, all the high schools around the world. They accept maybe 700, and they award 40. Now, the fact that we've been every year getting awarded, and we are in the top 40, it says a lot.
Yeah,
it says a lot about the
7,000 or
quality.
8,000 films, high school films, nationwide?
International.
International.
That's international.
Out of 7,000 or 8,000 international films, our students are earning awards
Top
regularly
40.
In the top
Regularly
40.
In the
Yeah.
top 40. And Sandiata was one of them. Maddie Case was another one. And I submitted High should be in backseat this year, so we'll see
This
how
year's
they
seniors,
do.
the class of
We'll
25
see. Yeah,
also
class of
will be...
25. That's right.
We'll be waiting to see how they do.
Very well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very well, I'm sure, too. The other festival situation, sorry if I can be really quickly, just tell you about this, the Oscar qualifying festivals. Because high school films cannot go to the Oscar. They will not be accepted, only college films. So the highest that they can go to is getting accepted to these Oscar qualifying festivals that are basically exist so that they can screen the short films and then send it off to an Oscar nomination. Now, if we get accepted to it, and then we get an award at a festival, that's probably the highest that they can get in their careers. That's when it's very important that we submit to those festivals and that they get an award, some sort of nomination even. The nomination is also as fantastic. And some of our films had gotten that. Cat with Mary White had gotten that. Hardcore, Maddie Case gotten that. To the Max had also
At various Oscar
There's not that many
qualifying.
either. There's a couple. There's like 100. I don't know, less than 180 festivals that are Oscar qualifyings. So that I strategically try to figure out which one to send it to at what point of the year. And we had gotten those.
And every year, some percentage of our students go on to study film. It seems like every year when we do our film symposium, those 12th graders who've had 4 years of our curriculum, it's at least half who's going on in film. Tell me a little bit about what you have seen about our alumni's journey beyond Viewpoint.
Well, I've been here for 30 years, as I've already said, and we have incredibly successful alumni that go on and make a real, impact in the film industry. We've had Academy Award-winning producers. We've had cinematographers who, have shot the best films out there. We have had Emmy Award nominees and people who have gotten the awards. I mean, they find success everywhere, but they've also found success not just in like the highest level, but also in the levels that they really want. We have students that are making incredible, that are influencers down in San Diego doing incredible podcasts and doing YouTube videos and things like that are inordinately successful. We have students who are actors that have gone from filmmaking into acting, which Monica could speak a little bit about. So it's our hands go everywhere. I mean, Viewpoint alum I feel like they graduate from our program hopefully full of confidence in their abilities and in their storytelling abilities as well, and they can take that everywhere. And I think Monica can speak a little bit more specifically if she's so inclined.
Sure. Well, I've been here for 13 years, so my alumni experience is just that little segment of time. Filmmaking is incredibly difficult to break into. So once they graduate, if they go to film school or not go to film school, and then they try to get into the industry, it takes years. It takes sometimes decades to actually break into. Which just means that the recently graduated students are still trying to find their ways, but they do come back. They do come back for several reasons, to visit the Film Force, to give them advice, because they loved Viewpoint and they come back and talk. We have a podcast with the Viewpoint alumni that all film all the time, always. Watch it.
That is our one of our Viewpoint podcast family podcast.
That's right.
Monica, that's you interview alumni?
I
Yes.
interview the alum.
Yes.
It's all about film school applications and then getting into the industry, trying to get a job, networking. How do you find it? There's no one way.
And you bring alumni and other industry professionals back to talk to our students.
That's right.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. So, yeah. And those talks, mostly we open those talks up to anybody who wants to attend, and almost always they're attended by so many more students than the film students, because usually it's it's subject matters that are very topical and very interesting to the entire community here at Viewpoint. So we're going to certainly continue doing that next year, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, when we have these visits, the alumni or film industry professionals, it's very inspiring to our current students. It's very educational. They learn so much. It's the tricks of the trade. It's how did they get that nice award or that job, and can I do that? And then they. Normally what happens is that alumni and the film industry professionals give them their contact info and direct lines and call me when you need help. And that's incredible, because we are building this great collaborative environment, which is actually the film industry in itself. It is what it is. And I love that. I love pulling in the alumni. But first of all, they want to come. They love us and they love our students. But they also are there because they are also networking for themselves too. If they know that if a high school a Viewpoint student graduates from the film department, they can do the job, and they do really well. So it's good for them to know each other and network.
That's a win-win. I mean, certainly people do need to find the next generation of talent, and you are seeing that next generation of talent in your classrooms, and
we certainly are.
And our Patriot Film family grows.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you hear that students are going on to study or going on to work in film?
Go ahead. Sometimes I tear up because I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so exciting because I mean, when you teach, you really get to know a student. You get to know the way that student thinks and the way that they will respond to things. And so certainly when you hear about their successes and what specifically they're, successful in. Sometimes you were like, oh, I knew it. And sometimes you'd be like, oh, not in a million years did I ever think that they would go and do that. But, regardless of where they end up, when you hear about those successes, you're thrilled. And, some students come back and they, and invariably they tell us how much, their time here at Viewpoint meant to them and how it allowed them to get to where they're going. And, that's a really wonderful thing too.
It's very emotional and very, I'm so proud when I hear that. I just, yeah. I can't even explain it.
We're in
it's
Los
like my
Angeles.
Own children.
Yeah. We're in Los Angeles, world capital of film. Clearly you're passionate about what you teach and what you do, and that comes across. It's interesting. I hear your pride in your students. I think about that film symposium, and even the students who will not go on to study film and in fact may have very different passions. I want to go to medical school. I'm going to go into business. I think about the portable skills and mindset, the skill set and the mindset, in the words of our mission statement, that students have learned in film. Have you seen that as well in alumni?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I mean, not to downplay the film department, I think that it's Viewpoint. I mean, I think it's universally Viewpoint that allows the students to find success. And, it's not just the film department that is, allowing them to grow in those soft skills or that mindset. It's all of Viewpoint. I mean, we have students that come into the film department with that confidence from another class, and it's really wonderful to see that in our department.
I agree with that. I watched the previous episodes with the music department, and remarkably they said the same thing that I say, like how much the collaborative skills, the create, how they present themselves on stage and they're not afraid of failing, and those skills, that the project management skills, you will use it every single job that you're ever going to get in your life, how you negotiate with your peers, with your bosses, which is what we learn in film, but they also learn it in the music departments. So Catherine is right. It's pretty much everywhere at Viewpoint of how those soft skills are immeasurable. They are probably the most important aspect of it, of our education, I believe, across Viewpoint. And then they are ready for the world. They are world ready.
That's our mission, to cultivate that courageous mindset, that critical skill set, and resilient identity that leads to future readiness. And so they are ready for the future. Is there anything else you want to share about our film program?
I don't know. I think we're both very happy to be here. And I think we love what we do, and we're just I personally am looking forward to all the great films that we're going to be making in the next couple of years. So that's really exciting for me.
Same for me. Absolutely the same for me. I feel very lucky. And again, I heard this other podcast participants saying this, how lucky they feel that Viewpoint supports their job. I feel lucky that Viewpoint supports this job because it is a big program, it is a complicated program, and just to have that support, just the space and the equipment and the opportunities to make these movies. Not every high school, not even every college will do it to this level. So that's the best, that we get to do this on a day, and that the students get to experience this. Which, a little quick note, when the prospective parents come and visit the classrooms, like especially when they see a Film IV working, they don't really see the film work, but they see just students working and enjoying their lives and enjoying their day, and it's a great atmosphere for them to bring their children into possibly the next year, and they like it, and I like it.
Thank you so much for talking about how the school supports us, because it's. I mean, I've been here for 30 years, and I've felt incredibly supported for all 30 years. So I'm sort of taking it for granted now. But I you can't. I mean, and there are so many schools out there that don't support their arts. And I really feel like Viewpoint is as much an art school as it is an academic school, and it's sort of there for any student who would like to take advantage of it. And again, you're right. Thank you for bringing that up. I feel so supported and so lucky to be here.
For those who aren't familiar with our program, I've often marveled that the 4 years that students get if they take the 4-year sequence in our upper school, it feels like they've been to film school even when some of them might be heading off to film school.
It does. And they say that when the alumni comes back, they absolutely say that their first 2 years, that let's say your first 2 years of USC is basically Viewpoint, which is not to say don't go to USC, is to say that it gives them a leg up. It gives them that opportunity that they are that much ahead when they go to USC because they had gone through film school already.
How much more can they get out of those first 2 years if
so much.
If they have this kind of preparation?
Right. So much.
I also hear you really talking about one of the things I like about these conversations is we're highlighting the student-teacher relationship, and I hear that throughout everything you're saying. Kind of a closing thought. What's a surprising or funny experience you've had with students, whether it's in production or post or, experience of giving or taking notes?
That's a hard question, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's surprising, and I don't even know if it's funny, but let's say stick to the notes, for example. It hurts their feelings when they are younger to hear something that doesn't work in their film. But then to watch them go through film 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then those feelings are not hurt anymore. They understand that you love them and you want them to succeed, and they are eager. They want your notes. If you don't give them a note, they get a little upset. I'm like, wait, what? What, do you not want to tell me what's happening with my film? Like, please tell me. Because they trust us. They trust me. They trust their other teachers. It's that, to watch that over the years and like come from a point of a place where you feel like, oh my God, I hurt their feelings and they are upset with me, to actually they want you to give them that note is so good. It's so, it makes you really close to each other as colleagues. For me, in Film Force, this is when we are colleagues now.
Yes, I agree. I can't top that.
Yes, you
That's remarkable. And I'll tell you, if you can cultivate that kind of trust and that kind of ability to give and receive feedback, then those students really are world ready. Well, I want to thank you both for this incredible conversation and for highlighting this, one of those best kept secret aspects of our Viewpoint education and our World Ready Promise. And I want to thank you all out there listening. This is On Point, Behind the Curtain with our film department. Have a great day. And we look forward to what's next. And
me too.
And we'll be hearing about the festival circuit and seeing students at the Oscars.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
On Point is produced by Viewpoint School, an independent school in Calabasas, California, serving students in grades TK through 12. You also can find the On Point podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Viewpoint School channel on YouTube, and at viewpoint.org/onpoint.